Thank you, Ian. It's a privilege to be here today, to be in a room filled with people who are not only talking about change in rare disease, but actively reshaping its future. Igniting innovation for impact. Those words matter. Because for patients and families, innovation without impact is just hope deferred. An impact without innovation will never keep pace with what is now possible. We all know the scale of the unmet need. More than 300 million people live worldwide with a rare condition, yet only around 5% have an approved treatment. For many families, the journey begins not with answers, but with uncertainty. 1 in 3 patients will wait around 5 years for a diagnosis. 5 years of unanswered questions. 5 years of seeing symptoms dismissed or misunderstood. 5 years of anxiety, frustration, and isolation. And it doesn't stop there. It ripples out through families, health systems, and economies, resulting in an estimated UK £14.9 billion annual loss to the economy and £4.7 billion in health-related disability costs. This is the reality rare disease patients live with every day. But this is not a story of what's broken, because the story of rare disease is no longer only a story of unmet need. It is also a story of opportunity. An opportunity created by extraordinary scientific progress and by a growing confidence that together we can do things differently. Science has moved, now systems must follow. So why is now different? Because science has moved beyond the systems that support it. Around 80% of rare diseases are genetic. That makes them increasingly biologically addressable. We are no longer confined to managing symptoms. We can intervene directly in disease biology. Gene and cell therapies, RNA-based medicines, precision biologics, highly targeted advanced modalities. AI, bringing a new frontier of technological advancements. This isn't incremental progress. This is a step change. But here's the tension. Science has accelerated, systems have not. Remarkable scientific precision has arrived. Potential isn't the problem. The challenge now is turning that precision into impact. And that brings me to the most important point I want to make today. The question is no longer, how do we make rare disease fit existing pathways? The real question is this: how do we build pathways that fit rare disease? How do we ignite innovation for impact? For too long, we've tried to force rare conditions into systems designed for common disease. Large populations, standard endpoints, linear development routes. That approach cannot and will not deliver at the pace or the scale families need. This isn't a scientific problem, it's a system challenge. Which brings me to you. This room is the system, and proof that the system can change. Because when I look around, I don't see silos, I see an ecosystem. Patients and charities with lived experience, urgency, and impact. World-class academic and clinical leaders creating shared platforms. Mission-driven non-profits creating progress when markets fail. Biotech and pharma partners that are clearly signalling rare disease is central to the future of medicine. Health data leaders enabling faster diagnosis, smarter trials. Government bodies recognising the human and economic imperative. Regulators enabling platform-based pathways for individualised medicine. This is what system change looks like. So where does LifeArc fit? LifeArc is a self-funded medical research organisation. Our vision is a world where people with a rare disease can get the life-changing treatment they urgently need. Our purpose is simple, but not easy: to turn brilliant science into real patient impact faster. That means fewer families hearing, "There's nothing we can do," more children diagnosed earlier, more credible routes from discovery to treatment, even for the rarest conditions. We back that purpose with a proven track record of delivery. LifeArc has helped bring multiple medicines to patients worldwide, and LifeArc has made long-term investments in strengthening the UK rare disease ecosystem across all 4 nations by building centres and networks that accelerate translation at scale. Our pipeline is moving through the clinic and towards impact. Assets advance, trials progress, companies are formed because LifeArc finds the best science, translates it with expertise, and partners at the moments that matter, turning potential into impact. Our new strategy is focused on key pillars: preclinical discovery, clinical translation, ecosystem building, and financial sustainability. We focus on the moment where promising science stalls and help it move again. We bring translational funding where others cannot. We convene new partnerships to create innovative new approaches. In other words, to help forge paths where none yet exist, and to do so in a way that creates momentum that extends beyond any single initiative. Because when we find a route through complexity for one condition, it often unlocks progress for many others. Let me give you 3 examples. The first example is about Terry Pirivalakis, founder of Elpida Therapeutics. Terry's son was diagnosed with SPG50, an ultra-rare, progressive neurodegenerative condition with no treatment options offered. Faced with no pathway and no time, urgency took over. What can I do? With no scientific background, Terry immersed himself in the biology, built partnerships with gene therapy experts, assembled the capabilities for a credible clinical program. Progress wasn't linear. Preclinical work and early manufacturing planning ran in parallel. Trial design started before funding was fully secure. Urgency did not mean cutting corners. Safety, evidence, and patient protection were non-negotiable. From the start, this wasn't about one child. The goal was a pathway that could work for others, leading to the creation of Elpida Therapeutics, focused on diseases outside standard commercial models. An inspiring story, but also an uncomfortable one. When families must build pathways themselves, the system is failing. This is precisely the gap LifeArc aims to address. The next example is epidermolysis bullosa, EB. EB is one of the most devastating inherited conditions. Even light touch causes severe blistering and open wounds. Families manage chronic pain and intensive daily care. Despite decades of research, no approved medical treatment exists. The ART-EB trial is led by Dr. Sue Lin and funded by LifeArc and Deborah UK. It takes a pragmatic approach, tests whether existing biologics already used safely elsewhere can be repurposed, has an adaptive trial design to stop ineffective options early, focuses on decisions-ready outcomes, not just biological signal. It has a clear ambition to create a credible route to routine use if evidence supports it. The third example is Ollie Chu and Hunter's syndrome. Last year, 3-year-old Ollie Chu became the first person with Hunter's syndrome to receive a gene therapy. Hunter's syndrome is devastating. Although enzyme replacement exists, it requires weekly infusions that cannot cross the blood-brain barrier, and it does not prevent neurological decline. The gene therapy takes a fundamentally different approach. Developed by Professor Simon Jones and Professor Brian Bigger, from Manchester Hospital and University. You'll hear more on this later from Professor Rob Wynne. At a critical moment, LifeArc funding rescued the programme, and without this support, promising science often stalls. For Ollie, support turned possibility into reality and opened a path far beyond this child. So let me close where I began, igniting innovation for impact. Science is no longer the limiting factor, the system is, and the system is something we together have the power to redesign. If we build pathways around patients rather than precedents, if we reward collaboration, flexibility, and courage, then rare no longer means forgotten. The examples I gave you will not be isolated successes. They will be signals of what could become possible if we designed the system differently. LifeArc is committed to playing its part as a partner, a convener, and a catalyst. Thank you for your leadership, your commitment, and for charting these new paths with us. Together, we can ignite innovation for impact. Thank you.